Welcome back to today's episode. It is Monday, November 4th. You're listening to the podcast where we discuss the most recent installments of a different series every show. This month promises to be stacked. There's the premiere of Doom Prophecy, which was first announced in 2019 before even the first movie came out. The Day of the Jackal, the Eddie Redmayne show, based on the best-selling book. There's been multiple adaptations in film. St. Denis Medical, this one I'm particularly interested in. It's supposed to fill the role that Scrubs left so long ago.
And Under the Garden Wall, the series that came out like 10 years ago.
Cartoon?
Yeah, is coming out came out actually last night with a stop motion episode.
Is it following?
It's like a 10-year reunion, I think, that they just decided to put out there.
So it's not a remake of the original series. It's actually going in order.
No, I think it's just like an add-on, just like a little special.
Okay. Citadel Honey Bunny, the third Russo Brothers series, not including the one we're about to talk about right now. But do you have a show or movie that's coming out this month that you're particularly interested or excited about?
Well, next month I'm excited for the Wallace and Gromit. I think they're coming out with another movie that's like supposed to be on Netflix. I think it's coming out in December. Also, Kraven the Hunter. That's going to be an R-rated but like MCU movie coming out next month. I think there's even going to be a weird Lord of the Rings type of movie. So I'm excited for December.
I think Wallace originally passed away, or the original Wallace has passed away.
Yeah.
Gladiator 2 comes out later this month. Red one, the Dwayne Rock Johnson one with J.K. Simmons and Chris Evans. That looks pretty funny. Wicked, amazing reviews so far.
Yeah. It's probably going to be a top Oscar contender.
Right. I remember seeing it on Broadway. I think I still have my ticket from a really, really long time ago somewhere in my files. But over the last few years, we've discussed a lot of shows on November 4th. Do you remember any of them? I'll just tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Judy Justice was one of them. The Winchesters. And then last year was Creature. Of those three, I would probably say that the Winchesters would be the most apt comparison to Wizards Beyond Waverly Place, because it's a follow-up series that, even though that took place in the past, this one's going forward a few years. It's as opposed to a prequel series, a sequel series, right?
Yeah, and I watched the original back in 2007.
How much do you know about the original Wizards of Waverly Place?
Well, by the time that I had ended, or by the time that I had stopped watching Disney Channel, I know that the series was still going.
Okay, so it ran for 4 seasons, October 2007 to January 2012,
yes.
Right? Which ended first, iCarly or Waverly Place?
Oh, I should know this.
You should.
I'm going to say Waverly Place.
Waverly did. It ended in, as I said, January. They had a special in March, and then iCarly ended in November of that same year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It was the most watched finale in Disney history, Waverly Place. What do you know about the actual show's plot, though?
Well, I know that it follows a family of wizards as you have actually 3 kids, Justin, Max, and Alex, as they're all trying to become, it's kind of like a satire of Harry Potter. They're all trying to become good wizards, but really they're all rebels. So it seems like it follows a guideline of Fairly Odd Parents, where it's like
Fairly Odd Parents is the exact thing, because every episode feels like it was geared towards they have magical abilities that they can do hijinks and shenanigans with, and then they get themselves into trouble and they have to work their way out, and it's a family unit, so it's wholesome. There's probably some crazy villains around there. I'm just going to read the synopsis straight from Wikipedia. Alex Russo, a teenage wizard living in Waverly Place, so that's a real place in New York, Greenwich Village, trains with her siblings, as you said, Justin and Max, who are also equipped with magical abilities. One day, they're going to compete for sole custody of their family's powers. Now, this was based sort of on the Sabrina the Teenage Witch, where she gets her abilities in her mid-teens, and then she has this big test that she has to do, and while she's living at her aunt's, she has to train forward for that. I'm assuming in the finale of the 4th season, Alex and the rest of her family have that competition.
Yes, they do.
Is it in the form of a bagel eating contest? What do they have to do?
It's almost like an obstacle course. Actually, a game show. That's really what it is. And
they go on to like a game show.
A game show, and whoever ends up winning is going to become the family wizard. Yeah. By the very end of it, it's supposed to be Justin, who's the oldest brother, but then we figure out that Alex actually was the reason why he was going to get the wizard powers, because she helped him with the competition. So actually she gets the wizard powers. There's this guild. Someone decides to step down, so Justin will take the role of the guild. And Max, who will no longer be a wizard, gets the sandwich shop. But As
Wait. So Justin's able to keep his powers, but only because of the guild. So they like wrote in a secret way in which
there
he
was
was able
this
to remain a wizard.
I think there was this wizard named Mr. Crumbs who was part of the guild for like 3,000 years, and at that very moment steps down, and it's just like, you know what, Justin, you should take over in my shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But this is also a show that propelled Selena Gomez to stardom. I think the only other Disney star who's maybe like who rose to fame the fastest, maybe someone like Sabrina Carpenter. But
What?
as
No, absolutely. In Disney, you're okay. So I don't remember Disney or Nickelodeon, the separation between the two of them, but Amanda Bynes was Nickelodeon, right?
Yeah,
And who was the iCarly lady? She was also
Miranda Koskov.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
But Miley Cyrus was Disney, right?
yeah.
And Demi Lovato, I believe, was. You said that they rose to stardom so quickly, right? Why are you giving me a weird look?
Because
Why am I wrong about this?
Sabrina Carpenter, I would argue, is bigger than Miley Cyrus, especially as of now.
I disagree. I think that Miley Cyrus, at the time of her Hannah Montana career, was bigger in kids' eyes than Sabrina Carpenter is now. Does that make sense?
Sabrina Carpenter like is selling out like shows. You don't hear about Miley Cyrus right now.
I'm not talking about now. That's an unfair comparison because it's been what 15 years since she left Disney, and she's had her like times in and out of the public light. But I'm talking about if you are measuring then and now, those child
Measure
actors
fame,
taking
measure
off.
money,
Also, Sabrina
measure.
Carpenter is like, I think she's in her 20s at this point,
Yeah,
right?
she is.
And so that's an unfair comparison there as well because Selena Gomez was in her teens, Miley Cyrus was in her teens. Sabrina Carpenter, I think, has just gotten famous because she released an album. Like she actually started performing. It's like she didn't get famous from Disney, is what I'm saying.
I disagree with that. I think anyone would disagree with that.
What about Ariana Grande, Wicked Lady? Was she Nickelodeon?
She was Nickelodeon. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree. The show, Wizards of Waverly Place, was originally supposed to be called The Amazing Hannigans. I believe that it was supposed to take place in Ireland. It then turned into The Amazing O'Malleys, and then it became Witches of Waverly Place. But then it became the Disney Wizards. And then they went back to Wizards of Waverly Place.
Well,
So,
I actually have a 2 truths, 1 lie with you because
Yeah.
the executive producer, showrunner, writer for the series, Peter Marietta, was one of
showrunner for 3 seasons.
for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite professors that I took in college. He was even one of my I wrote 2 professors at the end of college, just kind of thanking them. And yeah, he was one of my favorite. He helped me develop like my first ever TV pilot and my capstone. But I remember him talking about Wizards of Waverly Place when we were doing classes, and so I wanted to see if you could guess which lie the fact is about the show, because I remember him talking about these specifically.
Right? Are these about plot points?
No, this is about how the show came
Just
to be.
background
Yes,
information.
yeah.
All right. In fairness to you, I did hear an interview from him last year. He went on to, I guess they have their own podcast
Yeah.
where they're like redoing, and he talked a lot about his time on the show, how he felt that he was booted out in the 4th season, and how he would have ended it differently.
Yeah, well, no, and I saw even a quick YouTube short that kind of that had that, because I think they had the dad from Wizards of Waverly Place and then Harper, who was the best friend of Alex's in the original show.
Right. And I didn't know that Larry David and Richard Lewis were actually part of Wizards of Waverly Place. His daughters, Larry David's daughters, were big fans of the thing. And so he went there, and then they ended up taking pictures together. And Richard Lewis was supposed to be on the show, but then chickened out at the last second. So
I didn't know that either.
Well, now you do. Yeah.
The first one is when Disney approached Marietta with pitching a series, he knew right away Wizards of Waverly Place was the project that he would pitch. That's the first one. Second one is the pilot that Disney aired was actually the 3rd episode of the series. And the last one was Marietta still keeps in close contact with the cast and crew even after leaving the show. So one of these is a lie.
Okay, well, the third one obviously is true because of the podcast.
Yep.
I would say that the first one, he talked about how he was shying away from kids shows. He was afraid of getting into that market. He had worked with Selena Gomez once before, and she was actually shooting another pilot at the same time. And they actually grabbed her from that and had her shoot 2 pilots at once because they knew Disney was only going to open one up. So I don't know whether or not that answers the question of that he knew exactly that he wanted to do Wizards of Waverly Place, but that's what I know about that information. And the second one was what?
The pilot that Disney aired was actually the third episode of the series.
I mean, I don't know. I have absolutely, that comes down to like plot stuff, and I have absolutely no idea. So depending on how you were meaning that first answer, I'll go ahead and say that one, since he did have a little bit of hesitancy before jumping into kids shows.
And you'd be correct, but what I meant by it was that Wizards of Waverly Place, he had some other ideas with Disney that he had wanted to pitch and that he was really excited for.
Right.
And when he learned that he was pitching Wizards of Waverly Place, he said that while he was still excited, he wasn't really like that into the idea. So when he pitched it, he felt like he was actually kind of promoting confidence, because it didn't really seem like the idea he cared so much about, that he felt like Disney kind of picked it up because of that. And obviously, as he started working on the series, he came to enjoy it more and more. And then the second one, the pilot Disney aired, was actually the third episode of the series, was true. He learned very soon after the first season, and he turned it into a screenwriting lesson, but he said that because he couldn't rely on Disney to air the episodes in order,
Right.
he was going to have to always spend like the first 2 pages, which equals into the first 2 minutes of any TV show, like initiating who the characters are, basically telling the audience and always showing them, kind of giving them the information right off the bat so they understood what was going on. Because again, he couldn't rely on Disney to show the episodes in order.
He does seem to have some grievances with Disney. Like the way he was talking about the fourth season was that he knew ending the third season, he wasn't going to be invited back. He had gone in to talk about how they were going to close the show up. And by that point, as you said, Selena Gomez became extremely famous, to the point where Disney was like, we don't want to make this an ensemble show as much anymore. We want to make it only about her, which I always thought it was because of just the cover, and I never actually watched the show.
No, it was it was about the whole family.
But they would have had very different endings, and he even told his ending. And I don't want to just regurgitate what he already said in his podcast, so people can go listen to that. However, I will ask you, while you were taking his class, how much of his class was him just like riffing about his work on Waverly Place, since that was probably his main fame?
Every single person loved it. I mean, he was one of the classes in junior year that ended up switching to Zoom, and I took like 4 or 5 of his classes in senior year. But whenever we went to breakout rooms,
you took 4 or 5 of his? Oh, you mean like
yeah, because I took one class in my junior year of college.
He's not teaching 4 separate classes.
No, it was. He was kind of like the screenwriting teacher in like senior year of college.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but so I got to know him really well. But when you got into the break rooms and you were always speaking to the people there, they were like, "Is it weird how he's bringing up Wizards of Waverly Place? Like, this is a show I used to watch all the time." And everyone would be like, "I know," and like we would all kind of be really happy about it. So it was cool whenever he talked about that. He also would
think, well, he was starting at ASU, there was still enough of a gap between the people who actually watched his show and not, where he could talk about it and they'd be peripherally like understanding. But then like as the kids grew up, he's finally hitting his market right on the head, and they're like, oh my God.
He name dropped all the time too. He would always talk about like Danny Trejo, Gabriel Iglesias, David Henrie. Obviously a big reason why in the show, the original show, they're Latino and Mexican American is because he is as well, and that's very, very big to him. That's a huge part. He always wanted to portray Latino families as good and hardworking, as well as diversity. That's
like I said, it was originally supposed to be an Irish show with an Irish family, everybody the same race, but this way they were able to like mix it up and really create a diverse element to it. They did ask him straight out, like, what would you want to see in a sequel series? And he answered that question with completely different than what this ended up being, because I don't think he actually has his hands on this spinoff. It was created by Jed Elinoff and Scott Thomas. The series follows Justin Russo living as an adult with his wife and 2 sons on Staten Island, of all places. I say that because it's still called Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. Oh, Beyond. Now I get it. It
like they left. Yeah.
I got it. Okay. Until his sister Alex asks for help with a young wizard in training named
Billie.
Named Billie, and he revives his magical skills, which I guess he put away, even though he's in charge of a coven. Or
Justin, yeah.
Like why would he not be using them on a regular basis?
That was a problem I had with it, because they kind of retconned the finale.
Right.
What happens in this first episode is we learn that Justin is living a happy, magic-free life, but at the end of the finale of the original series, he's taking over as part of the Magic Guild.
Right.
Like, that even seems almost bigger than what
Even
Alex
if he
got at the
hadn't,
end of the
if he just
series.
had the magic, you would think he'd be using it on a day-to-day basis just not to do the dishes.
One of the first things he says to Alex, because Selena Gomez does show up in the first episode reprising her role, is that he hasn't picked up a wand in like decades or like the longest time. So he's just cut magic completely out. His kids don't know anything about it. His wife doesn't really know about his backstory. He's just living a magic-free life.
And we talked about it on the iCarly podcast because you, I think, watched that more than you ever watched Wizards of Waverly Place, right?
Yeah, and there's a chance that I watched Wizards of Waverly Place, the premiere, when it premiered, but I have no idea. But yeah, I was watching more Nickelodeon when I was a kid than
Cool
Disney.
fact. But what I'm trying to get at is that nostalgia factor that hit you with the iCarly series. I remember it was pretty strong. With this series, did it feel the same way seeing Selena Gomez, especially since you've seen her in other things like Only Murders in the Building, where she plays a completely different character?
I was worried, and I think my worried was almost was verified because
Your
it
worries? Yeah.
yeah, because that 90s show was the sense that I was getting from Selena Gomez's appearance, because she doesn't show up. I know we're only reviewing the first 4 episodes. I've seen the
Correct.
first 6. It doesn't seem like she's going to show up for the rest of the season, and I feel like she's very much just going to be a character that maybe shows up like 1 episode every season or so.
So I think it was like 2 episodes were premiered on October 29th and then 2 the next day. And then the rest are on Disney Plus, but they'll be airing every single week. And so we're talking about the first 4. I think the last one of the first 4 is Halloween themed, right? And
Yes.
she didn't make an appearance in that. She was only in the first episode. Did the Halloween themed episode, though, stack up with what you remember from the Zach and Cody Halloween themed episodes, or like those classic Disney ones from the 2000s?
I think that this is a very good representation of Disney shows now, because if you are a parent who's thinking that this is going to be a sequel series, maybe there's going to be some adult oriented humor. There's not. This is about as Disney Channel as any show is ever going to be.
But can old fans tune in and
I
still
think so,
enjoy it?
because David Henrie, who plays Justin, he's probably the best part of the show. He has the best comedic timing. He's playing the dad character. He's kind of taking the reins of the dad character from the original series, because he's wanting Billie to be kind of in control of her magic and not be out of line. And he seems excited to be there. Honestly, I thought that when you said that there was going to be someone that created the series, David Henrie is so happy in this series, I thought he might actually be like
He's
one of the
executive
people.
producing. He's in charge of some of the script writing, like
Yeah.
he's got his hands all over it. Selena Gomez, I think, is also
I saw her name. Yeah, she's an executive producer
executively
as well.
producing it as well. Yeah.
But I
Um,
think it is made for everyone. I feel like kids, especially if you're someone who watched the original series, you can watch this with your kid. You're probably going to enjoy it.
So how highly Disney can it be if like adults can sit there and not like claw their eyes out? No offense.
Oh, well, I mean, do you remember when we did the Saved by the Bell reboot and we said that there
Wow.
was
Yes,
some
that's callback.
it is a callback, but do you remember when we said that there was some just like kid jokes where you kind of had to roll your eyes and get through it?
So is that mainly Billie? Is that the
Yeah, I would say Billie. The problem with Billie, and that actually comes down to one of my cons, is that
problem with Billie?
the actress, she's the main actress and is fine. But her character, I really don't like, because they've given her the traits that I just can't stand in kids' characters, which is being smug, mean, snarky, and just
She's mean.
disrespectful.
So how is that different than what Alex's character was?
I'm sure if I were to go back to the original series, maybe Alex wouldn't be as bad as I was, but I think it honestly may be a testament to just how good Selena Gomez was in her role, because, I mean, she's been able to become even more famous after Wizards of Waverly Place. Again,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think that Billie is fine as the actress herself, because she's just playing the role that she's meant to. As a character, however, I just don't like how she's the main protagonist.
Out of the 3, or it is 3 kids, right? Because 2 sons and
Yes,
Billie.
there's also Roman and Milo, and I actually like Roman and Milo. I don't think they're that annoying.
Roman, Roman's character has been compared a lot to the dad's character, Justin's character, when he was younger.
Oh,
Like I said, he's
interesting.
very similar. But fans' thoughts on this, I wonder what your thoughts are on the fan thoughts. First of all, where's Max? People
Yes.
ask that a lot.
Yeah, because I remember that guy was big on Disney Channel. Like, once Wizards of Waverly Place came out, he was showing up in like every single Disney Channel original movie. I think he did some weird baseball movie back
Well,
in like
explain who he is in
2009.
the series first. before-
Max was the youngest kid from Wizards of Waverly Place. He's
The
the
youngest
person.
brother.
Yes, he's the person that at the end of the series doesn't become a wizard anymore because he didn't win the competition.
He
But
becomes a billionaire.
well, I mean, maybe depending on how good the sandwich shop that his parents ran for the first
Oh,
4
I thought it
seasons
was
of the show.
actually that was canon. I thought that he had become a billionaire,
Oh,
like,
had
in the
he?
series. That's what I
He
thought I'd
he
read.
inherits the shop at the end of the series. So I'm assuming that if he is a billionaire,
Maybe they mention it in a later episode. I don't know, but they do plan to get him back on the show at some point,
I'd love to
along
see
with
it.
a
Yeah.
lot of the other characters. They're trying too hard to make Billie into Alex. That's one of the criticisms I've
I
heard.
I absolutely agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then the last one is that it feels less cringy the more the episodes go on. So yes, the first couple are going to have those like pilotitis, old timey, got to like bring in the Punky Brewster feelings. But then as it goes on, it actually develops into more of its own.
But there's moments to like as well, like when you see the lair that the Wizards used to work at the end of the first episode. Here was a set that they used in the original set.
Right, all the furniture was.
That was the most where my mind was like, okay, this is the nostalgia hit.
So they literally took a tow truck from like Waverly Place in this canon universe and moved all their furniture to Staten Island.
It was the best part. It was the end of the first episode again that you're able to see it for the first time, and it was the part where my mind was like, oh, this is very nostalgic for
It's
me.
also just like that 90s show, because the one thing that everybody loved was that it was the same house. It looked exactly the same.
I mean,
Gideon
I think
Foreman was
Eric
still
Foreman
there.
was wearing the same wig. Yeah.
I don't think he wore a wig in the show.
He had the same style hair.
Okay. Maybe in the sequel series. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I was also shot in front of a live studio audience. What did you think?
I
About
was
that?
wondering if that was the case or not,
Just
because
because you heard clapping and you
yeah,
didn't know where it was
well,
coming
because
from?
also I heard different types of laughing. That's always been something that's interested me.
Okay.
But yeah, no. So they shot this in front of a live studio audience. But I'm wondering how they must have like signed like embargo claims, not being able to tell people like kind of what happens in the episodes.
Do you think it's that popular? Oh, well, it was pretty popular because the trailer came out, right?
Right.
It amassed 69 million viewers in 10 days across all social media platforms. That's a lot of viewers.
Well, you said yourself that the finale was the most watched finale of Disney.
Yeah, and it was the most watched trailer for a comedy series on Disney of all time. And so I will throw in some crazy like stuff about like the director of the first episode, and I think the third episode, Andy Fickman, has done a lot of other Disney stuff, but he's also done the direction for The Crew, that show.
Yeah, right.
Kevin Can Wait, that show, and Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. What is the similarity between those three things? Yeah, and what else? So does the fatherly role fit with Justin's character as when he was a kid?
I think it does, because I think that if you saw his character, it's not too far changed from what the original series was. The spirit of the show is still very much the same. I think that the comedy that they're doing also is very much the same.
You're talking a lot vibes right now, but what's actually going on in the episodes? What, like 1, 2, 3, 4?
One of the things I was happiest about. So I was talking about how Justin's family doesn't know that wizards exist, right? That magic exists. By the end of the second episode, I thought that was going to be what the whole 9 episodes was supposed to be, and I was going to get really tired, because by the first episode, the kids even realized from Billie that magic exists. I thought they were going to have to keep it from the wife for the whole series, but by the end of the second episode...
Wife's name is Giada, right?
Yeah, exactly. But by the end of the second episode, Justin's family, everyone knows that magic exists. So it's very much the same as like kind of the original series. But then you also have...
What does the wife think about it? Because she's the only one who has no chance of getting it, right?
She's
the kids, people are speculating whether or not, maybe because of the relation that they may pick up on their powers. They're in middle school right now. The original series, they were in high school, so maybe they'll grow into them.
The wife is freaking out about it, like especially when she first learns.
Because she's not jealous?
No, not jealous at all.
I would be grabbing that wand and being like, come on, work magic.
Yeah, so in the first episode, Alex drops off Billie at Justin's house and kind of gives him the message that there's supposed to be this big apocalyptic event that's going to happen in 1 week. Billie is the only thing that can stop it, because she's like the most powerful wizard.
And why
and
is
then
she
leaves.
helping?
I I don't really know. She has a lot of work that she apparently has to be doing.
I got to do this
like,
paperwork. You got to take care of this
yeah,
kid
it's
and
like
teach
this
her how to
huge.
fight this demon.
It really didn't make a lot of sense. Also, because Billie is very like she's just using magic in and out, and she's not supposed to be using as much magic as she is. She still seems like a middle schooler. In fact,
That's the
that's
most
why.
realistic thing that you've said thus far about like what would happen.
And that's why in the third episode, you have the first day of middle school for Billie. She starts using her magic wand to make Winter, Roman's friend, like her more.
Oh, wow.
Then she comes clean to Winter at the very end of the episode, being like, this is what I did, and defeats Phantomus, who was, I guess, it seemed like they were building Phantomus up to be this villain for like the full series. By the end of the third episode, though, David Henrie defeats him, so it seems like that villain is at least gone. I thought he was going to be the apocalyptic event. And then the fourth one is on Halloween. A monster called Pumpkin Belly visits Wizards and eats Billie, Justin, and Winter because their Halloween decorations weren't scary enough. They use mints and soda so Pumpkin Belly can kind of burp them out. While the side storyline is that Justin is sad because he took over as principal for the day and was hoping that his house would be egged until it isn't. And then
what? Sorry.
So
the person wanted their house to be.
Yes, because he is the vice principal, but the principal was out sick for the day, so he ended up being the principal. So he wanted the kids, because the kids usually egg the principal's house, to see him as the principal, but they didn't.
Yes, but like the amount of work that would take to, is he a wizard too? He could just like zap those things away, and so it's more about the thought
That's exactly what it is. He thought it was the thought that counts, and then at the very end, it turns out that they did egg his house, so he was happy about that.
I think some kids tried to egg our school once back when I was in high school, and they got expelled. Like that's not something that you could just do lightly.
It was supposed to be played for laughs. If I had to come up with cons for this show, it's that again, Phantomus, he was kind of defeated at least very early on in the season. I assume he's going to show back up, but he's not that intimidating a villain.
He's gonna be like the invincible guy, where like he goes and he gets mad and turns into like a worse villain.
Well, he had even cool powers where he like takes over Roman's body for a second and can make people levitate. So it seems like he was way more of a powerful villain than he ended up using his powers for. It seems like a low budget show. I don't know how much money this show was given, but there's barely any sets. There's barely any actors. And the original, I guess, just felt bigger.
Gomez just doesn't come cheap these days. Like they had to pay her millions. So the stakes, though, are that Billie is in training to fight a giant, huge
apocalyptic event that's going to happen that I imagine is going to happen at the end of the 9th episode.
Okay. All right.
The intro song also, sorry, I wanted to mention the intro song. It isn't as good as the original. They did some weird remix to it.
But it is partially the original.
It is partially the original, and I think even the first episode is the lyric from the song, Everything Is Not What It Seems.
And she sang the original, Selena Gomez.
Yes, no, I know she did. But
Selena Gomez, she kept her original wand. As you said, most of the furniture was the same. Did you know that Joe Jonas auditioned for the role of Justin Russo when it was first being
I actually did not know that at all. But that was around the time of like Camp Rock and stuff when kind of the Jonas Brothers were hitting their stride. So I'm not surprised.
And had you seen David Henrie before Wizards of Waverly Place?
Well, yeah, because I had seen him in How I Met Your Mother.
Right.
Actually,
the kid in that.
Yeah. I think what happened was I saw Wizards of Waverly Place, and then I saw How I Met Your Mother, which came out before Wizards of Waverly Place, but I saw it afterwards, and I recognized that it was him then. But the thing is strange.
I feel like you saw How I Met Your Mother before then, because remember, like in 2005 or whatever, they kept on playing the How I Met Your Mother show whenever anybody took a plane ride, and so like he would always be at the beginning of those episodes. Like, those
were the first season episodes.
But you wouldn't know who he was at that point.
That's kind of what I meant. It's also strange when you're talking about Wizards of Waverly Place because that's really one of the last shows, aside from anything like Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, that was a live action show that they can really make a remake of TV shows that I watched as a kid.
That sounds like a challenge waiting to happen.
Because again, aside from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, really I only watched cartoons, and they've already made one of iCarly and some other things. So it's like there's really only one more that they have at this point.
That you're connected to.
Yes, that I'm connected to, right?
Yes. By the mid 2010s, that's what they're going to go towards next. Austin and Allie or whatever.
That's fine. That's what I'm sad about. That's what I'm not looking forward to. When my
you'll have to go
generation
back and watch
is done.
the original series, and then you'll have to Yeah, so Giada works as a reporter for a news agency called WOWP, Wizards of Waverly Place, for those fans who caught that. And then, did you know that in season 4, episode 5 of the original series, the one that Peter Murrieta did not work in, that Max turned into a girl at one point in some of the episodes. And then the person who played him, Jake T. Austin, right, the one who hasn't appeared, their grades were bad. And so they had to go work on that. And then they were able to come back in episode 10, and it was called Back to Max.
I had no idea that happened.
All right. Pretty progressive, don't you think?
I did watch the finale of the original series from this show, and I think, and I'm not sure if this is the way that always was, but Max was probably my favorite character from the original series. So that's why I'm hoping that he shows up again.
Is that because you're a younger brother?
No, it's just because I think that he was the one with the funniest jokes. Overall, I think this is a harmless show. I think I can see why people would give it some positive reviews. I will give it passing. You're going to have to get over some Disney Channel humor, but I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Do you see anything other than wizards? Do you see werewolves and vampires in these first few episodes?
Not in this series, but in the original, you definitely did.
I was just asking, in this series, have they brought in any other magical beings, supernatural lore?
No, but I know that Justin in the original series, by the time of the finale, was dating a vampire, and I guess just things with that didn't work out because he's married to someone else by the start of this series.
Yeah, in Murrieta's best version of his finale, he was going to have him marry that vampire, so that that would be where this next series took off. So maybe the actress was busy, I don't know. But the ultimate take is Variety, Decider, Collider have all given it positive reviews. There haven't been a ton of news outlets jumping aboard the old Wizards of Beyond Waverly Place to check it out, but it's a 6.8 on IMDb right now. If you watched it as a kid, I think you'll probably at least want to tune in for the first episode, see what you think. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one. It's going to be a busy month. Bye.
Bye.